Uh, we got interviews, different perspectives, interview. Listen and learn what winners do. Empirical wisdom.
I know my wife was telling me that you're from Maine.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a small place.
Yeah,
like
it's
I've been to Maine a few times, and I mean, I liked it, but it's pretty interesting how it doesn't take very long to go from one end to the other end. You know, so
Yeah.
but it's cold out there.
Very
It's really
cold. Yeah. Born and raised. I moved here when I was 18, so it's a very small town. But now looking like I left because there was nothing going on, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to get out of here. I need something different because I could not picture what I wanted to do in my life. Like I didn't know what I wanted my career to be or anything like that.
Yeah.
And Maine only offers very limited things, right? So I was like, I need to experience a different environment and get out of here. I'm the first person in my family not to go to college, so it was kind of like a big thing for everyone to wrap their head around that. I'm one, moving, I'm just graduated, I'm going off on my own to a different state, and two, like she doesn't know what she wants to do, but they're more like they wanted me to have stability in my life. You know, they're like, you need to work towards something. And I was like, I need a year to figure myself out. So moved down here and just traveled for a long time, and was really into the gym because I played sports all throughout high school.
What is your background?
I'm French, Italian, and Cambodian.
Okay.
My dad's from Cambodia. My grandparents, my grandmother, her mom is from Italy. My grandfather is from Canada.
Your parents had a big influence in your life?
Huge, yeah.
Youth?
My mom had me at 19, and so I basically lived with my grandparents until my mom graduated college. Yeah.
And your dad?
I don't know my biological dad,
Okay.
but I have a stepdad. He came into my life when I was 4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And
He's my dad. Yeah,
Gotcha.
he's my dad. He adopted me and everything. So.
Got you. I mean, I have 2 stepkids, but I don't look at them as that.
No.
You know, they've been around me since they were young, especially my daughter. You know, so like we just have that bond. Right. And so I can kind of like understand that, you know. So that's also a blessing because sometimes you never know what you're gonna get, right? Right. And it's pretty interesting because obviously parents a lot of times they want you to walk the safe path, right? So go to college, do well in high school, go to college, get a good job and get your benefits and get paid, right? And work for the company for like 20, 30 years and then retire. And I went to college. It was mostly because I was being pressure and influenced. Right. But I don't even, I did what I went to college for, but that wasn't my thing. Yeah. You know, and I can't be in a office like in front of a computer for that many hours. Like I need to feel free and be able to stretch my arms. You know. So I mean that takes a lot of courage for you to, especially saying that you were the first. You were literally breaking the what most parents consider like the safe route, right? And you're like, I don't want to go to college right now because I don't know what I want to do. I'm not sure, like, you know, where I'm heading or whatever. I haven't picked anything because older generations, obviously, they're always like, oh, by the time you're 13, 14, you should know what you want to go to school for or what you want to do in life, which I don't believe in that, right? We all blossom differently.
I think the biggest thing too is like my family are very traditional and set in their ways and stuff, but social media, what I do for a career now, like that wasn't a thing 5 years ago, you know? So even when I moved to Florida, like I wasn't thinking, oh, I want to be a social media influencer because Instagram was just popping off with that stuff. Like no one was doing it, you know? And I didn't even know I wanted to do that, honestly, but I was actually at the gym one day and someone came up to me. They were like, hey, my friend owns a boutique. Do you want to model for us so we can pay you? And I was like, okay. And I went. I got paid really well in cash, and I was like, this is kind of fun. I kind of like this. And then some other crazy things happened to me, like, out of nowhere, and it put me down this path, so.
But that's usually how it happens. Yeah. So you come down to Florida, obviously it takes a lot of courage. Yeah. Like, what were your feelings, like, before you actually made that move? Like, emotionally, psychologically?
I planned it like my senior year of high school, playing sports. I got a scholarship. I was really good at lacrosse. I was like top 3 in the state. So I was gonna go for college for that, but I didn't because I knew I didn't want to do it outside of college, and it was gonna take up a lot of my time in college, you know, the sport itself. And I was like, it's not gonna benefit me in the long run to do. And so decided Florida because my aunt went to college in Florida. So I had an idea of it's pretty and it's warm weather. So I planned it my senior year to move to Florida, and I realized like everything that I did in Maine, you know, I was on the ski slope with all my friends, snowboarding, and I just like looked around. I was like, I hate this. Like, and I never thought that before, like my whole life. Like I looked around, I was like, because I was now picturing myself living in Florida. I was like comparing it to something else that I would rather be doing. And I think when you surround yourself with people that are so like-minded and they don't venture out of the thoughts that, you know, the things that you do on the day-to-day, that's all you want to do because no one's talking about anything else, right? So now in my head, I'm thinking like, this time next year I'm going to be in Florida, what could I be doing right now? And I'm like, oh, I'd rather be going to the beach. I'd rather be like exploring different places and meeting new people and stuff. And I think one thing after I moved here, everyone is so cultured in so many different ways, and everyone in Maine is like born and raised, don't leave. They have the same thought process, you know? So that was really different too. But now looking back, I love Maine. I appreciate it so much more. I appreciate that I'm from there. I appreciate my morals and my set values. I appreciate like the hard work, you know, living through the seasons, living through like everything that I went through. I could have not got living here, being born and raised here. So I'm really thankful for it.
And I agree with you because I grew up north, and obviously a different perspective, right? How you view everything else. And when you grow up north, it's kind of like you always feel like you're better than everybody else in a sense, right? You feel like you're somebody, in a way, especially when you're in the city, right? Most of my family's in New York City and New Jersey, so like I have that whole city perspective, but everyone is so preoccupied with their daily life, and it becomes such a routine that they want to stay in their comfort zone, right?
My aunt actually, so now my whole family basically live down here except my dad and my sister. They still live up there. They love it up there. But my grandparents officially sold their house last summer, so they're down here now. My aunt and uncle down here. My mom just moved down here, so we're all migrating down here now. But my aunt, she always says like Maine, like kind of all of New England, I feel their mindset is you live to work, and down here it's like you work to live. You know, there's other things going on. People are like making that money to enjoy their life, you know. Up there, I don't think people think like that as much. I think it's more engraved like, okay, I'm working, like I'm doing this every single day and I'm fine with that, but some people are happy with that, you know?
And I think it has to do with the season. Because
winter,
I remember winter comes around, no one wants to be outside, you hibernating, and you come out like a few months later.
Well, it gets dark at like 4 o'clock too.
Absolutely.
So it's, I remember I worked at the mall, and I remember I would go into work at like 8 a.m., you know, we start at 9, the sun's not up yet. I would leave at like 9 o'clock at night. I didn't see sun the whole day because I'm working in the mall, you know, there's no windows, there's no nothing. It's very depressing.
But it is, but it's so crazy because to this day, I still enjoy the darkness. Like if it gets dark a little early, like I actually enjoy it. I enjoy the darkness a lot more than the sun, but I love the sun when it comes down to like me having to do things outside, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that I appreciate about having lived up north and grown up and things like that. Obviously here in Florida is a little more different because your perspective is more like let's enjoy life a lot more, you know. But because of we can do things all year round, right? And like up north, you know, you go from skinny to gaining weight to skinny again, you know, and it's just like one of those things. So you build up, so you planned it, which is a great strategy, because when I moved down here, it was like I get a call from my uncle on a Sunday, and he's like, by Tuesday you got to give me a yes or no, and I'll put you in a plane, and you'll be in Florida.
Right.
And so it was Sunday, Thursday, I was flying down,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a little bit resistant to that, but my friends were like, "Listen, you need to leave.
Yeah.
Just go,
Yeah.
right? You have a lot more to give. Just go out there to Florida, try it out." And that's the same thing my uncle told me. So it was kind of like rushed, pressure, and then moved down. At first, I was like hating it because I left my friends.
Right.
I left most of my family's up north anyhow. And so I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But a month later, I got a job, and I started meeting people
Mm-hmm.
and things like that.
Right.
And so things like, then I started feeling a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
But it took me a little while to get
It
comfortable.
took me a long time too.
You see?
Yeah, my first year living here, I was 18, just got out of high school. All my friends, everyone that I knew, they were just starting their first year in college.
Yeah.
So they're like living life. And I'm watching all of this and I'm like sitting in a city that I don't know anyone. I'm not old enough to go to a bar and like mingle. I'm not in school. So how am I supposed to meet people? And I worked at a breakfast restaurant and it was mainly like retired people who would come in and get breakfast and stuff. So I was just like kind of really sheltered for a little bit there. And I flew home like every other month. Like I'd pay for a flight. My parents would pay like the next flight. Like I was just home. I think I was in a relationship and we moved down here together. We were together for 5 years.
Okay.
So like I only knew like that relationship. And I think that was something that I needed to get out of as well. But it was a healthy relationship. So there's nothing negative between that.
Yeah.
But actually, he decided he wanted to move back. He didn't like living down here, so we ended up parting ways for that reason. Because there was like a gut feeling in me that after like 8 months, I didn't do anything. I didn't meet people. I just worked every day, and I was in my little shell, and I was just visiting home. So I was like, I moved here for a reason, and I haven't like found it yet. I haven't found out why I'm staying. So I stayed by myself. He moved back, and that forced me to like meet people, to meet friends, and that forced me to. I just swallowed my pride and did everything alone. I went everywhere alone. I tried meeting people, and I ended up meeting a lot of new people, and everything kind of just started happening for me. So I'm glad that it happened how it did.
Were you even being up north? Were you? Because people up north tend to be a little more to themselves.
Right.
And so when I moved down to Florida, I wasn't as open.
Right.
Like with people. Like people here tend to be, because of, I guess because of the sun and the great weather, they tend to be a little more open and more friendly, and tell you their life story right away.
Mm-hmm.
Up north is more like, I don't know you. So
that was definitely me the first year living here. That's why I didn't meet anyone. I had like some coworkers and stuff, but I worked in Sarasota. So all the coworkers that I had, when I did stuff with them outside of work, it was in Sarasota. So, and I lived in St. Pete, so I didn't know anyone in my area yet.
Got you. Okay.
But then after hanging out with them and mingling with them and socializing and stuff, it kind of got me to, okay, I need to do this at home. But happened how I was supposed to.
So pretty interesting. So he wanted to move back. You had a gut feeling that you're like, I'm meant to be here and do something here. And that's pretty interesting, because I think most people would go for what they feel the safest.
Yeah,
right?
And that would have been the safest route for me because we would have been fine up there, and I didn't see myself I could have been like a housewife. Like that was kind of the role that would have been played for me up there because his family, he wanted to go back to work for his family because he had a job set up already.
Gotcha.
So I would have been taken care of and fine, but I was looking around that's not fulfilling to me. I'm very artsy, I'm very creative. I've always been into that stuff, but I had never considered it a job or anything like that before. My mom actually in high school wanted me to get into modeling, and I looked at her like she was crazy. I was like, I hated being in front of the camera. Hated it. It actually took a lot in me. When I was working at the breakfast restaurant, I had the most insane experience. I had this random guy come into the restaurant by himself. It was 2:00 in the afternoon, a weird time. We closed at 3 because it was only breakfast. It was a weird time for people to come in, so it was empty. He comes in and he's like, "You have a beautiful aura." And I was like, "Thank you." And I wasn't spiritual at that time. I wasn't I've never considered myself spiritual until the last like 3 years, but I always had like following your gut and all that stuff, but I didn't consider it spirituality at that time, you know? And he complimented me in that way, and I was like, that's cool, but never really heard that before. It was like a weird compliment. And then he was like, I've never gotten food from here before. Like, I've never come here to get food. I've always ordered Uber Eats, but something told me today to come here. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll go see if your food's ready. And I come back, and he's like, can I speak with you about something? And I'm like, sure. And he was like, I'm an intuitive, by the way. So I'm seeing things, and I just want to talk to you. I don't want you to think that I'm weird, but I am a spiritual intuitive. And I was like, okay. So he basically told me that there was an older woman with me, and she had her arm around me, and she's at a desk, and you're looking at the desk, and she's looking around. Has a bunch of things, and she found a pair of keys, and now she's holding the keys, and she wants me to tell you that she's with you. I don't know why it's heavy emphasis on she's with you. And I like, it made my jaw drop, because about a month before that, I had a really bad experience happen to me. Okay. And so I still had like main car insurance, main everything, and I got into a car accident, and there's like no fault in Florida. So basically my insurance and their insurance were fighting on who was gonna like pay for the accident that happened, because it was like a tricky scenario that it was. And so I was without a car for 3 months. I had gone to Greece by myself for an entire month, the month before that. So I came home from the trip with like no money, because I saved my money for that trip, spent all of it on the trip, came home, didn't have anything, totaled my vehicle, didn't have a car. I lived in St. Pete, worked in Sarasota. So like I was screwed for 3 months, basically. Ubering back and forth was basically almost how much I was making per shift. Like, I was in a bad place. Finally saved up so much money, like all the money I could, and bought a new BMW at a dealership. And I came home, I Ubered to the dealership after I got the car, went home. I was by myself because I didn't really have close friends. My family wasn't there. I didn't have anyone. And I just like bawled my eyes out. Like, it was a really cool, amazing thing. It was the biggest purchase I've ever made for myself. And I was alone. I felt completely alone and sad. And I was like, for what? Like, I'm doing these cool things. I'm living on my own. I'm experiencing these cool things. I just went to Greece alone. Like, I'm doing everything alone. And I was just sad because of it. And so this random guy at the breakfast restaurant is like, there's an older woman with you, and she's holding keys, and she wants me to emphasize that you're not alone. And that right there it's my great grandmother that he was talking about. And I just like wanted to burst into tears, because like, how would he know any of that? Like, I didn't talk about that stuff. I didn't talk to anyone really about like my deepest moments like that, except my mom. And so right there kind of shifted my perspective on everything. Like, this is real, this stuff is real, and I'm intrigued. And so I had an actual reading with him, and he basically kind of told me, he was like, you know, you have like these deep desires, like with creativity and stuff, like you should start a YouTube channel, because I see you like being successful in certain avenues and stuff. And that's actually what made me want to start a YouTube channel and made me want to start doing what I do right now. So
so like I consider myself like very spiritual. I'm more about energy.
Right.
Like, I just feel people.
Yeah.
And if the energy doesn't match, trust me, I waste no time. Yeah. Like, I just kind of like move on. You know, like
just the frequency, the vibes, all of that.
Absolutely. Like, you know, even with my dogs. Look, you came in, my dogs weren't barking. Mm-hmm. You know. Yeah. They feel energy. Bark? And so when I'm walking them, sometimes you'll see a person here and there just walking, and my dogs just get like on alert mode, and they'll start barking, and I'm like, is either that person has bad energy, or he's not a good person, or he's just having an off day, right? But there's some other people, they won't do anything. Yeah. Like, people, they'll walk past us and like nothing. Right. You know, so I always pay attention to those things. I think it's interesting. Just like people used to say like, oh, we don't have chemistry. I think now this years ago when people used to talk like that, I feel now that it's all about being on the same frequency.
Right.
Having that, being on the same page, having the same energy, and if I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
And if I go to a place and I feel like the energy is not right, I leave.
Right.
Like I just don't want to be involved in that. I don't, try to stay away from all that negativity and things like that. Yeah, obviously there's certain things that we cannot control and certain things we also have to deal with because it's part of life, right? But I try to minimize that.
Yeah.
As much as possible. It's not easy. So here you are, single, young. You're. How do you go to Greece by yourself? What got you there?
Well, my ex and I broke up. I was alone, and this was now 9 months after I graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Florida, and my family didn't get me anything for a graduation gift because I told them, I was like, listen, if I'm going to college, because my grandparents were very persistent. My grandparents were like, we want you going to school. My grandmother, she was a principal for 10 years and she was a math teacher for 12 years. So she's always been in education. And the high school she was a principal at was the biggest high school in Maine. So she was just very invested in that stuff. And that's just how she is, and she's an amazing human being. But they were just very we want you going to school, just in case whatever you want to do, it doesn't work, you have this, and they actually went and toured a lot of schools with me, and we went to Savannah College of Art and Design in Georgia, and they're the #1 art school, so they wanted me to go there. I got in, and I was going to go for fashion marketing and management and minor in interior design. So I was basically, the idea was I wanted to be someone who you could hire if you have a brand, but you need the concept of the brand, the aesthetics, the advertising. I would basically take over creating the brand for you. You tell me your ideas and I'm like, okay, this is what it's going to be. And then turns out that's kind of what I'm doing now for myself on my own. So it's cool how that worked out. But at that time, I didn't have a graduation gift or anything like that. Yeah. So I told my family, I found this thing. I just Googled vacationing by yourself at 19. I just literally put it in Google. I found this thing called EF Ultimate Break. And they're still existing to this day. It's a certain age group. It's 18 to 27 or 28. Uh-huh. You have to be that age in order to go because everyone's around that age that goes.
Got you.
And it's basically the concept of if you're young and you want to travel but you don't have people to travel with, this is how we do it. So you pick the trip you want to go on, the length that you want to go on. And I wanted to go to Greece because the breakfast restaurant I worked at was a Greek restaurant.
Gotcha.
Everyone in the kitchen was Greek. They spoke Greek. I knew a lot of the culture just for working there for so long. And it fascinated me. They really opened the door of this is beautiful. They would talk about it a lot. They would talk about the way they think, the way they do things. And food is so important in our culture, but in different ways. It's a beautiful way of thinking, I feel. Yeah. And so it made me want to go there. So I picked the trip, flew there, met everyone in Greece because all of our flights were at the same time at the airport.
Gotcha.
It was 24 people total, and then the tour guide. So he basically took us on the whole tour. We went to all the different islands. We went to 7 different islands in Greece, and it was cool because if you didn't want to be part of the tour that day, you could go off and do your own thing. You're an adult, you can do that, But it was cool because our tour guide was Greek, so everything that he was saying was from his heart. And it was so amazing. Yeah. And the people that I met were from all over the United States. Mm-hmm. So it was really cool. It was awesome. And a lot of them have done those trips before. So hearing about their personal experiences and everything like that was amazing as well. And I think coming home to that was really refreshing because I hadn't had that many friends at that time. Yeah. So I was like, wow, there's more to life than just, even though I'm living right here, I just met people from everywhere and I just learned so many different things, just because you live in one spot doesn't mean, that's what is attainable for you. You have the whole world to explore.
Especially with technology and social media, all those platforms,
nowadays, yeah.
You can, it's so accessible.
It
I know
is.
about Greece because one of my cousins, he's half Greek.
Okay.
And he's living in Greece right now. And see his postings and all those things. And his dad, we would go to like a Greek restaurant, so and that's where they it used to be called Molfetas up in New Jersey.
Okay.
And they would like break the plates and all those things, and so it was always good. Like I've always been interested in other people's cultures and how their perspective.
Right.
There's a lot of beauty out there, to all these different cultures and things like that. But you got to kind of like go out there and experience
it, especially like I've always said, I've had this opinion now just because I've been living in Florida now, and I went to Europe for 3 weeks over the summer, the summer that just passed too. But what I've realized going on like long trips and like being here now is that you can travel as much as you want. Let's say you go on like a 5-day vacation, but during that 5-day vacation, like you're having fun, you're not having to go to the grocery store, go to the post office, go to the bank, find different things, like cycle through different types of people in that environment, see like the common denominator between like, okay, people kind of have like this way of thinking here, that, and whatever. You don't really get the culture unless you're there for a minute, you know? So it's really beautiful.
It is, absolutely. And this is important to travel and kind of like try to embrace that and absorb it. A lot of people don't do that because they feel like, oh, I want to go travel, but they want to go get
people are just comfortable.
as face, and then like they come back and they're like, so what do you see out there? I was drunk, I was partying,
right.
and I'm like, there's just so much out there. I mean, you got to be pretty brave, being young and having the courage to take those trips, especially going to Greece. Like, there's other people within the age range, but still, you don't really know them, right? So there has to be some level of confidence for you to be able to do that.
Oh, for sure, especially like flying to the airport and stuff. Even like that was my first time going international, and like I had a layover in Switzerland. Switzerland's on a different level. I didn't leave the airport at all. Like I want to go there, but I went to the bathroom. I couldn't even figure out how to flush the toilet. That stuff was so advanced. I felt like I was in like a Black Mirror episode, if you've ever seen Black Mirror. But I was literally like, the food at the airport, oh my gosh, like insanely beautiful. But I'm saying that to say this, when I landed in Greece, everything's in Greek, like all the signs, and I'm like, it's a tiny airport, but to get around, I'm like, I don't know where baggage claim is, I don't know where this is, and like I was by myself, so just taking that into consideration, I did not before I got there, so I just kind of wung it, but I think moving to Florida alone and figuring that out by myself, I was like, I can go to a different country for a month.
And Florida is a pretty good spot because it's a hub for so many people from like, especially being in Tampa and St. Pete and all these areas, Sarasota. They also have a lot of people from like other places, and so it's a hub for all these different cultures.
Oh, for sure.
And when and that's what happens a lot of times. People come from other places, like, what is a Cuban sandwich? What is a café con leche? What is this? Like what? So. But then you get used to it. And
I think it was just the idea of being in a totally different environment. And then I was like, I'm going to be in another totally different environment. I'm not scared. It was like, it was the act of putting myself in something that was extremely uncomfortable and putting myself in something else that was uncomfortable. Slowly over time, I've done that so much now. I'm not scared of anything. I get nervous. I do get anxiety sometimes, but I don't let that stop me from doing something that like the universe has presented to me of, this is the next step that we think you should take, and being spiritual and like listening to my higher self and stuff like that. It's like, you cannot grow if you're not uncomfortable. You cannot. It will not happen,
Were you shy when you were a little girl?
Kinda, kinda. Kept to myself a lot.
And open up with certain people only.
Right, that. If I'm with like my closest friends and stuff, for some reason though, like, I had close friends in high school, but I also like didn't. Like, I don't know. I had never in that time frame found people that were like almost exactly like me in the sense, which I don't think you need to find in life someone that's exactly like you. You know, that's not gonna happen. But I didn't find people that liked the same things that I liked to an extent.
I think you're because I'm pretty much like an introvert to some degree, but I'm also an extrovert on certain things.
Right.
Like I'm selective on those things.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like a little mixture of those things. Maybe at one point I was more of an introvert.
Yeah.
And I didn't care to talk to other people. Like it didn't bother me. And when you feel good being by yourself, those things don't matter whether
Right.
people talk to you or not.
Right.
You know, you travel on your own, and you know you made certain decisions that weren't easy.
Right.
You know, and so you go from being, let's just say, somewhat shy and things like that. Now you move to Florida. You know, you planned it, but you had to. It gave you time to build up more and more of that courage, right? To make it over here. You stay here. You have this gut feeling. Now, how do you? They approach you at the gym, right? And they ask you like, you want to model. You say yes right away, or you have to think about that?
I said yes right away. But I was just like, I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know what to expect, you know? So I was just like, yeah, I'll do it because, like, they said they were going to pay me cash there. I was like, I'll make some money. Like,
Gotcha.
I was very money-oriented then, just trying to get my savings built and stuff just because I wasn't alone. And, you know, when you move out of your parents' house for the first time, you're buying everything. You're buying toilet paper. You're buying, like, everything, silverware, things that you wouldn't even think about. And setting up, like, even Wi-Fi, like, electricity, all these things. I'm like, this adds up, and I only came down here with $2,000, and that ran out fast, you know. So I remember we bought a couch on Craigslist for $75, and slept on that for like the first 3 months that we lived here. And I was just trying to save as much money as I could. So I was trying to just make money, you know. So but all the things that we just talked about, you know, like got into the car accident. That guy, like I went to Greece. That was life-changing. I get into the car accident, and then I meet that guy that's like, you should do YouTube. And it was in the back of my head when I was in Greece, because I was like, this would be fun to record. But again, social media wasn't a career really back then. You know, people did it for fun, and people had big followings and stuff, but people were not advertising regularly. Do this for a living because you'll make this much money, you know, like that wasn't a thing, and brand deals, like stuff like that. So I thought about doing it for fun, but I'm not tech savvy. Even though I do this for work and like editing and stuff, I'm not. My camera, I know the on and off button, even to this day, unfortunately. But back then I was like, I would do this for fun. But after like having the reading with the intuitive that was like, you should do all these things, that's like kind of when I decided I want to start YouTube. And then the modeling, like the guy asked me to do the modeling like right after that. So it was just kind of like, it all happened kind of at once. So
you felt empowered.
Yeah,
at that
I was
moment.
like, yeah,
and you're like, whatever comes, I'm
gonna do it. Yeah. So that's how that happened. But then I stopped for a while. I moved to Tampa and I started nightlife. I did. I was a bottle girl at 2 different nightclubs, and it was fast money. It was most money I had ever made before, you know. And I'm only working 2 nights a week, cash in hand. I get to, you know, do whatever I want every day, and that kind of I became comfortable for like 3 years. Honestly, like I did YouTube just because I was getting a lot of brand deals and stuff, but it wasn't something I ever took serious in the sense of like, how can I replace my income at the nightclub? I wasn't thinking that. I was just thinking, I'm young, I'm having fun, and also I was able to meet people because I'm working at a nightclub. Everyone goes out. So I met so many people and was able to network. So that's kind of what built my modeling and my all the people that I know these days is from that. So I do think it was a fundamental thing that I needed to do in my life, but I was in it for so long, super comfortable. I didn't try to progress my career at all. And then actually 10 months ago, if we're gonna fast forward here, 10 months ago, I decided I was in a really bad place mentally. I woke up and I didn't recognize myself. I was super unhappy. I was super like negative thinking, and it was just my environment that I was in. So 10 months ago, I quit my job. I left my relationship. I moved out of my place and moved to a different area. and left everything. I changed my phone number. I did everything and decided, you know, if I quit my job, I need to solely rely on social media full time as my income. And that's going to make me really uncomfortable. So what is that going to do? It's going to make me take it serious. Mm-hmm. So I saved up enough money to where it could last me until I felt like I had enough time to get my stuff together, you know, and said F it and did it. And so 10 months ago, I did that, and I'm where I am today.
So this is pretty recent then, like the time, you actually taking it serious.
Taking it serious, 100%. So that's why I'm like rebranding right now. You know, I went into hermit mode for the first, I just started going outside again like a month ago. Gotcha. You know, so I was home. I specifically moved. I was living downtown Tampa. I was living my best life, honestly. I identified as that for some reason. I never, coming from Maine, there's no big city. There's no downtown really. There is a downtown, but it's not a downtown that you would ever consider being a downtown. So I moved downtown. I'm living in a high rise, and I'm like, I'm living my best life. I'm in Florida. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I associated my narrative as that, you know? Yeah. And I took a lot for granted. Mm-hmm. And so when I moved, I strategically moved to St. Pete. I love St. Pete, but I moved to an area I've never lived in. Very, a lot smaller, not much going around, right? Yeah. But I moved 10 minutes from my best friend because I was like, I need someone, you know? So I moved 10 minutes from her and stayed inside. I was I had a lot of unhealed trauma, you know, even from childhood and stuff, just ways and habits and thought processes that were just not healthy, you know? And I started to journal. I started to wake up early and do affirmations. I started getting really spiritual and started spiritual in the sense of, I think of spirituality in the sense of if you allow yourself to become your highest self, your highest being of who you are, and actually implement it every single day, you can become that person, right? So I just dedicated my time to that. But then I looked at my social media platforms and I'm okay, I want to do this full time, but what do I want to be known for, you know? Yeah. Looking at my platforms, it was just bikini photos, it was booty pics, it was things that were going viral in the sense of thirst traps. And I'm and it was getting me brand deals, it was getting me the things that I was doing, it was getting me modeling gigs, but it was the longevity of it. When people look at my page, what am I giving for information? What are they feeling when they look at my page, you know? Yeah. And it's it's just a pretty girl that's showing a lot of body. And I take pride in what I look like because I work for it, but I want people, I want to educate people. I want to help people. I've done so many things that I want to talk about that I never talk about unless you know me, you know? The people that know me, because I don't talk about it to every single person I talk to, you know? So that's when the last 10 months I've just been sitting down okay, how can I change what I'm doing right now but still stay myself, you know? Because I still love clothes. I still love all these things, but I also am this person too that wakes up every day, does her affirmations. I decided I changed my diet, so I'm vegan when I'm home. Yeah. And anything that I cook at home, when I go out, if there's an option that's something that is an animal product or something that I'm craving, I'll eat it. I'll allow myself to, because, you know, we live this life once. And gotcha. I'm not gonna, you know, a diet is not suitable for the longevity. Yeah. You know? So I just think living a healthier lifestyle, but you can have your fun whenever too. But I changed a lot of things.
So you know, pretty interesting. I mean, so just going back a little bit, and you say you woke up one day and you were just very unhappy with yourself.
I hit rock bottom.
Recognize yourself. What do you think that was due to?
Environment wise, work wise, nightclub scene is not the best scene anyways.
I worked at the Hard Rock for 8 years.
Okay.
And it was hospitality, nightlife, I used to do we usually have this thing called the security detail, and we man the club and the bars. Okay. So for 8 years, I saw a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right.
You see a lot of things.
crazy
yeah.
things.
But it comes with the territory. You know, so it's
absolutely.
like, you know, you can't change it. You know,
Yeah.
like no one can walk in and be like, all right, we're going to do this way now because it's not going to work like
But
that.
my network became pretty extensive.
100%. So that's why I don't like. I'm not here to talk negatively about any of the things that have happened to me because they have made me who I am today. Like I would not change it for the world because I am who I am now because of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being in that environment, I think, you know, especially working with a lot of different girls that are my age and we're all making this money, you know, you're seeing cash in hand. Some nights we're making $3,000 a night, you know, and what did we do? We drank with our customers and socialized, and we're making $3,000 in cash and walking home when people are working 9 to 5s, and like literally like money is so much more valuable to us. It was like, F it, I'll buy this bag, I'll buy these shoes because I'm gonna make another $3,000 tomorrow. You know, like it was a different mindset, and it was just it was that, but also the negativity of the club, you know, the scene itself, just wasn't healthy to be around. So, you know, that was my work life, my home life. My relationship wasn't the healthiest. It was, there was just a lot of miscommunication and a lot of unhealed things between the both of us that it brought it out in both of us, and we just butt heads a lot. So it, you know, I didn't have a safe place to go to. I felt like, in a way, you know, physically I did, obviously, like I was fine, but mentally I was not, I didn't have a home base where I was like, okay, I can let my walls down and I can be me and I feel safe, right? So that had a lot to do with everything. And if I'm trying to make a career with content creation, if you're in a negative mind space, you can't create content. You don't have the inspiration, especially with YouTube. Like you're hopping on camera. That's not an Instagram picture you can edit and make all pretty and then post it. And it's like, okay, you know, this is like raw me on video. And the content I was making for YouTube was try on haul videos. So I'm talking about clothes the whole time. So it's like me depressed in real life, having to sit on camera like, okay, this is the shirt we're trying on today. Like, that's not me. Like, it was not fulfilling. So I lacked the motivation to do that, right? And everything put together, I kind of was distant from my family a little bit, you know, because I was like, the priorities I had at that time was like, okay, like, I want to go out to dinner, I want to go on this vacation, I want to do these things. It was materialistic, you know, so all of that, I actually like, I do not talk about this a lot at all, but my body kind of, I got in a really bad headspace, and I like blew up with acne really bad, and I actually had to go on medication for it because it was so bad. So that right there, I hit rock bottom. Like I was like not wanting to leave the house, not wanting to do nothing. You know, working at the nightclub, my job as a bottle girl was to be pretty and to book tables and for people to want to book sections with me. If I don't look my best, if I don't feel my best, if I'm not performing my best with that, it's toxic at home, it's toxic at work. I was not in a good space at all.
But all the negativity and like sometimes we didn't even pay attention, and we actually absorbing that stress. And the way we project it out is like, it can be physically, emotionally, it can be a mixture of things.
Yeah, it can be all of it.
And people break, you know, they'll break out.
People
like,
lose weight,
acne,
people gain weight, people,
you know,
your body stores trauma.
Completely.
And
and it's crazy because like, you can be as positive as you want to be, but at the end of the day, you become a product of your environment.
Correct.
So if you can be, you can wake up positive and try to be positive all throughout the day, but if you put yourself in a negative environment where people are just like, because it's all negativity. So like when I used to work at a casino, people come in with a smile and thinking like, oh, I'm gonna make millions, and they'll go spend their whole check.
Right.
Now they leave the casino crying.
Yeah.
Right. Now you do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I have friends that I've seen lose $20,000, go home, bring $20,000 more, and I've seen people lose their businesses and things like that. So it's a very stressful, negative environment that you're pretty much in the middle of it.
Right.
And you absorbing all that negativity.
Yeah.
You go home and you feel like, why am I so drained?
Yeah.
Why this? Why that? And then you start showing it through, can be acne, like you said, gaining weight, just not feeling fatigue all the time, not feeling like happy with yourself. That's how you start to explain it. So, and that's what happens, because I think it absorbs a lot out of you, and obviously, you at the moment, sometimes when you go from having a little bit of money to having nothing, and then you start picking it up again, then you start feeling confident, like, oh, I'm gonna make it tomorrow night, so I can go buy whatever I want to buy. But you get so busy just thinking about that, and you don't work on yourself.
Correct.
So you just working on like things and objects and things like that, and then you pay a lot of attention to other people, but you're not paying attention to yourself.
Right, and that's like, that was the environment I was in. I was living downtown. That's how everyone kind of is downtown as well. Yes. And then also my work environment and everything around me. But also, like, I was making amazing money for myself, but I was looking at everyone else that was making even more money than me, and instead of looking at it in a way that was inspiring, I was looking at it in a way of like, I'm not doing enough. So I was extremely hard on myself as well, of like always in grind mode. And I had to take a step back, because bringing it back to like where I'm from and what I was taught from my family and how my family are, it's like, that stuff does not matter, and I don't even care about that stuff. Like, it was just the environment that I was in at that time was like super materialistic, and I was like, this isn't me. Like, what? Who am I doing this rat race against?
You were trying, because you came with different family values.
Correct.
And now you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, pretty much, right?
Exactly.
And
for
so,
what?
Because it's kind of like, well, if they having it, maybe I should have it too.
Right.
And sometimes it's you don't even see it. Yeah. Like, you're just doing it because it happens. Yeah. Like, if you have 5 people and one person's wearing shorts and the other 4 are wearing suits, at some point that person is going to put on a suit, right? And now it's up to you to go and buy a inexpensive suit, or go buy a very expensive suit, trying to keep up with them, right? And sometimes we're not honest with ourselves, and we're just trying to keep up with everybody else, but that shouldn't be the case, right? That shouldn't be the case, because then we focus on the wrong things. And at some point it's going to hit us. Yeah. And that's when we build anxiety. We build the people panic attacks and so many different things that they hit you because you're not healthy mentally. And that's what happens. And it happens to a lot of people. They wake up and you said something before where you didn't really have a safe space where you can just be yourself. So you build this internal conflict, right? Because that's not how you really are, but you trying to be something that, just trying to keep up with everyone else indirectly, and at some point it just, you break down. Yeah. Like, people have nervous breakdowns, all kinds of things, and it happens because I feel like it's happened to me at some point too, but some people come back from it, some people don't. Right. At least like, somehow you manage to get out of that and move forward, and you recognize that, like you were saying, like, kind of like, this is myself and my family a little bit, because I was so busy doing this, doing that.
I had different priorities. Yeah.
And it happens, because I think there's a time for people, like, in a positive way, in a healthy way. There's a time for people to grind, right? And you grind, and you're going to stay away from everybody. People are not going to see you. You're not going to talk to people because you just grinding. But there has to be a time where you slow down, and now you give yourself time for everything else. Right. You can't be on grind mode for a full year, because then you're gonna collapse. Yeah, you're gonna burn out. Yeah, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. We had Dr. Gino Kalura coming around, and he was talking about that. Like, he one time I brought him in to he came and spoke to the fighters, and he was telling them, like, how you got to maintain a balance, right? And you got to work on all different areas of your life. Correct. Because sometimes you get so busy at trying to be successful, right? And you make it, But then when you turn around, everything else is back down here, and it's so hard to come back down and catch up again.
Yeah, but even then, like even if you make it, you make all that money, or you are that successful person, you cannot keep it because your mental is not there.
Exactly.
You know, you cannot grasp and keep the longevity of it without the mental. And I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people nowadays with social media, everything's instant gratification. It's like, you can be a millionaire tomorrow if you do this. You can make this much money if you do this. It's like, okay, then what? Like, you know, what after the fact, like, what are you going to do with that, right? And what you do with that money, or what you do with that freedom you have after the fact, are you going to continue being a good person? Are you going to give back at all? Are you going to create something that will last with that, you know? And I think that's where a lot of people, like, they don't think about that when they get there. But
because they don't know who they are.
Yeah,
that's
why. Don't know who you are yet.
Because I mean, I've been to places and I ask people like, hey, you tell me about her, or you tell me about him, right? And you'll spill a whole bunch of things. You'll be like, oh, this person is like this, like that, blah, blah, blah. And then I turn around and like, tell me about yourself. Mm-hmm. And the person is like, you see? Yeah. Because we're always paying attention to other people. Right. And we never pay attention to ourselves. Yeah. So if we don't know who we are, we don't really know in which direction we're going. We think that we're going in a certain direction, but we really don't, because when you know who you are, like, you know that there's certain things you got to work on in order for you to be able to achieve those things. Right?
Well, you look at the most successful people, and they're all they know themselves, you know? They all either go to therapy frequently, regularly, or they're extremely spiritual. You know, you got to create vision boards. You got to create your goal sets, time frames of those goals, your affirmations every day. Like, your thought pattern is your reality. Like, whether you like it or not, you know, we could be sitting right here together at the same time doing this podcast, doing everything, but like, our realities are totally different. You know, it's how you look at life and how things are for you. What your thought patterns are is how you look at things, you know? So,
and it's hard, and that's why it's so important to create a positive environment, because if you don't, your thinking process is always going to be negative.
Correct.
And you're never going to have time to think about your future or your present, right? Because all you're thinking about is like putting fires out. Mm-hmm. You never think about like...
that's one thing that I have been trying to stay focused on as well lately, is being present. Mm-hmm. You know, the past is already gone.
Absolutely.
Completely. There's no point in thinking about it. You know, lesson learned and walk away.
That's
you know? And then the future is not promised.
No.
But what you do in this present moment is what creates the future. So that's one thing that I have been implementing in my everyday too, is just being present in this moment, you know, as well.
I live like every day as if it's like my last day. And I try to, from the time I wake up until the time I go to sleep, I try to feel like it's been a positive day as much as possible. But I'm also always thinking like, the day that it is my time to go, and if they give my tombstone to my friends or to my family or to my kids, what are they going to write on that?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm always thinking about, and I hope I led by example. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm flawless and that I never did anything. No, not at all. What I'm saying is, like, in every stage, there's certain stages in your life, right? With every stage, you have to change. You have to make adjustments. You have to get better, right? At some point, you did things like this, but you're not going to do it for 40 years. You know what I mean? Like, you have to learn how to be a human being, how to be an adult. And there's certain things that you do when you're young. There's certain things that you start adjusting. You don't necessarily have to change. Now, your essence, your core, that's never going to change, right? But you can allow the other things to cultivate negativity, or to turn you away from the person that you truly are. And that's what happens a lot of times. A lot of people, like you said, instant gratification from social media. Yeah, it's going to happen at first when you get into social media. Like, that's what you're looking for, right? Because you're not really thinking about the content. You're not really thinking about the message. You're not really thinking about what is it you're trying to do for others, right? You're only thinking about like, oh, look, I have this many views. I got that many views. Exactly.
It's not the validation within yourself of, okay, this is quality and I really like this and this represents me. I'm gonna post it and I don't care about the numbers. You know what I mean?
Like you have your life's pretty interesting, and you left a safe environment and came to a new environment where you didn't know anything, and you know, like we discussed already, like, you know, there was you're an introvert, you're an extrovert to a certain point as well, but you had to learn how to do things, how to make many adjustments, and there's a great message for a lot of young women, you know, that maybe they're afraid to leave,
right,
and expand their wings.
I actually just made a YouTube video about that. I'm like, that's like the route that I'm trying to go now, is I want to start doing story times on my YouTube channel.
Yes.
So I want to be known for more of those things rather than the clothes and stuff. So
you see, that's awesome. And
so
you
I
can still
just
do
did
the clothes.
Yeah. Oh, and that's what I'm saying. So that's like, it's all in the works.
Yeah.
It's all in the works. I have so many different avenues of what I love, but I do see the plan and the steps that I need to take to make it all make sense in the way that I want it to make sense, you know. But I made a whole video about that, and I was just like, I moved 1,200 miles away from home at 18, right? And if you're watching this video, like, this is me explaining every way why you should do it, you know, because that's something that I think just putting yourself in a different environment is going to bring out a totally different side of you that you cannot even fathom, because you don't know the environment. You don't know what it's like there. And once you're in it, you're going to evolve into this new person that didn't exist before, you know? And you can't predict that, because you cannot predict what that environment's going to bring out of you, you know?
So there's this, like, all those little stories for as far as, like, me being a coach for so many years. They used to tell me all the time, like, there were 1,000 people better than Muhammad Ali, right? Who's considered the greatest. And the difference was that Ali stayed in the gym. He never quit, he never gave up, he kept pushing himself. He went through things, he overcame challenges, but he kept pushing forward. Everybody else, they gave up. They wanted things to come to them a lot faster, you know? But as you already know, it's a process, and it takes a long time,
right?
You know, it doesn't just happen overnight. And
I do believe, though, if you are in true alignment with yourself and you are doing everything like wholeheartedly, knowing that, like, this is for your highest self, knowing, like, I'm doing this for this reason and you're serving that purpose, I do believe that, like, the universe does bless you with, like, they'll just, like, keep throwing things at you. Okay, you passed this test, we're gonna do this, like, and the opportunities just flourish.
That's why it's so important, like, you know, people like you, like, when you put a good energy into the universe, the energy is gonna be.
Oh, that's what I was trying to say was, so within this, like, the last 2 months, okay, like, I randomly got a message from, like, Jake Paul's management team. It was like Most Valuable Promotions, which is the promotion team of the boxing event that he does, whatever. I got a random message from them out of nowhere saying, hey, do you want to be part of this fight? Like, I think that was just the universe saying, like, hey, we're going to give something to you and we're going to see, like, how well you do at this. And I did it, you know, I was in front of 22,000 people. It was the biggest, like, most amount of eyes on me at one time, and it's on live TV worldwide, and I'm just like, I'm gonna do this. Like, I've never done this before, but I'm gonna do this. And, you know, it was a lot of mental preparation for myself, even though I'm just a ring girl. It was big for me, you know, just being there, even in that environment alone. And after that, I met so many connections, and that's what my career is right now. It's like everything that I'm doing right now, it happened 9 months after I decided to go on my right path, you know? Within the last 4.5 years, almost 5 years of me living in Florida, it was me trying to learn, trying to do these things, and doing YouTube, doing these things, but also filling the voids of other things that I was trying to fill the void in, of, like, still staying at the nightclub, still being satisfied with that income, still living downtown in the relationship, all the things that I knew were not what was fully the best things for me, but it was comfortable. Left that, and now within 2 months' time, I'm good. I'm doing what I want to do.
Because now you're fully committed to yourself.
Correct.
before you were committed to other things.
Exactly.
And so you had a whole bunch of things on the plate.
Yeah.
And you were committed to those things, but you weren't fully committed to yourself.
Correct.
And that's what happens, because now you being pretty much stretched in so many different directions that you're not really paying attention to yourself. And that's what I tell the fighters, for example, as a coach, I was telling them, like, you guys give so much energy into other people's stories instead of developing your story.
Right.
And creating content to inspire and motivate other people. I feel like inspiration, motivation comes from within, but however, there's always people out there that need to hear someone else say it. We need that voice.
Yeah.
We need to know, because we're human beings and we work as a community, as a tribe, right? And sometimes it's important that someone else kind of you already have that in mind, but you need someone else to tell you, do it.
You think about humans though, you learn everything from another human.
Yep.
You learned how to talk, you learned how to write, you learned how to get dressed, you learned how to drive a car from another individual. Yeah. So you gotta learn.
Yeah, that's why this lady asked me many years ago. She said, why does a baby walk? Because the baby sees other people walking.
Correct. Yeah.
You see, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
So you're not born saying oh, I'm gonna walk.
Yeah.
You see other people for so long doing certain things that's how we learn. We learn from other people, and that's why it's so important to believe in that community, to believe in networking, and putting good energy out there. It's not so much just to benefit yourself, but it is to be able to come to a table and for everyone at the table to bring something to the table.
Yeah.
And now you bring the paper, I'll bring the pencils, you bring the crayons, you bring, let's put something together. A lot of times certain people just want to come to a table and bring nothing. And and I'm like, no, like that, I'm not down with that, people used to say oh, you're so antisocial. No, I'm not. I'm very social with the people that I want to be social with, but I'm very selective as well. When I form what I consider a circle, I'm part of the circle. We all got to bring something to the table. So I become very selective. I'm not going to just tell everyone everything. And with certain people, I'm going to do certain things. With other people, I'm going to do different things. But I'm for a very long time, I've always wanted to I think I was too busy thinking about certain things. I knew what I wanted to do, but I would get occupied with other things that weren't part of what I was trying to do. So it took me a little longer. But at the same time, it goes back to maybe a little bit of the childhood thing, the little traumas here and there, certain things that I had to overcome, and it's kind of when you don't have money, and they give you $20, you learn how to stretch your $20, right? But then when you start coming across a little more money, if you're not careful, you can lose yourself a little bit. Yeah. Because now you feel and that's why there's people that win the lottery, and they'll spend the whole thing within a year. Right. Because they never learn how to manage their money. Yeah. And that's why it's so important. And understand your priorities, obviously. What is priority in your life? Right now, you're fully committed to yourself. And I think that's what's important, because a lot of people go out there, work a 9 to 5, and they have this incredible commitment towards this company that is going to fire you at any point. Right. If anything happens, they're going to let you go. And you spend all this, you were fully committed. You wanted to be the number one, the employee. You wanted to be the monthly employee, the weekly employee. You wanted to be the best. You wanted to get a little award from them. They give you 50-cent raise and you're super happy. And you fully committed to all these other people and other people's dreams. And what about yourself? Right. You should be committed to yourself. You should be working overtime for yourself. Mm-hmm. You should be giving those 80 hours to yourself, not to other people.
I agree.
Because now you're working 80 hours, you come home, you don't want to go to sleep. You don't want to do anything else. Yeah. And you don't have peace of mind because you're constantly going. So when do you meditate? When do you do your affirmations? When you don't have time for that. You do, but You don't have the energy for that.
Yeah, it depends. I think it depends on how bad you want it, you know, because you have the time. I do believe you have the time.
Yes.
It's just having, one thing I talked about in one of my YouTube videos was consistency over motivation.
Yes.
You know, like you can wake up, you know, you're not going to wake up every day like super happy, like, yeah, I'm going to conquer today, you know, it's the consistency of it. Like, okay, I feel like crap today, I'm kind of sad today, but I'm going to go to the gym today.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, over time, just choosing to be consistent with it, you're going to see the results of what you're implementing, and then that's when the motivation comes in.
Yes.
You know, so that's one thing that I tell myself every day of like, okay, I don't feel like doing this, but this is my to-do list of today, so I'm going to get all of this done because it's going to benefit me tomorrow and the next day.
That's it. Do you write it down?
Yeah.
That's so important.
I have to. Like, entrepreneurship, like, you got to be organized. You got to have all your things.
It's so important because, like, especially with so many things that I got coming across my phone and my social media and stuff like that, and the things that I have to do, if I don't write it down, like, I just start forgetting things. You know?
I journal. I do 2 different types of journaling. One is like an affirmation journaling.
Yes.
So I'll write my goals, but in present tense. I'll write it like basically what I did that day, but my future self. Like, I'm not doing that because it's what I want my dream life to be, but I write it in present tense. Another type of journaling that I do is just like getting rid of releasing what I need to release, because your body does store everything that you think about. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. It's what your conscious mind is telling your subconscious mind. So if you're telling your subconscious mind like you're super stressed out because you work so much and you're super tired because you work so much and you don't have this going on, your subconscious is going to tell your body that, and you're going to be tired. Even though you might not be tired, but that's what your subconscious, that's all they know, right? So when you journal and you write these things down, just these random thoughts that you have, you're releasing it. You know, you don't think about how you might have the same negative thought process that you've had since you were so young. The limited beliefs is like the biggest one, right? But all of these things that it's just how you think, that you don't even realize that's how you think because you've always just thought that way.
Yes.
These reoccurring thoughts are happening because you're either not releasing it in the way that you're supposed to, in the sense of venting to someone or telling someone or owning your truth. Honestly, a lot of people don't even do that, but writing it down, you're releasing it from your body, you know, and over time, I say over time, but sometimes it's like 2 days later, you realize, wow, I feel a lot lighter. Wow, I'm not thinking about these things anymore. It's because you released it, right? So I think journaling is insanely important, but that's one thing that I do implement every day.
How do you pick that up though? Like this, were you mentored regarding that, or like something that you?
I watch a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of like impact theory. I don't know if you know about impact theory.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah,
he's like impact theory, and so his wife has Women of Impact, and he has impact theory. But those episodes, like that whole YouTube channel, like really helped me expand my mind in everything. But I'm super interested in how the brain works and how habits are created and all that stuff. So I actually educate myself on all that stuff. I really want to start going to like different what are they called, like the events and stuff like that for all of those things. Like I really want to start doing that, but I just haven't gotten myself to it yet.
He's got great people that when they come on the show, they're very positive. And they have like, they actually share steps on like, you know, how to achieve certain things.
And all the people he interviews, you know, obviously it's basically what you're doing, you know, everyone has a different story, but you know, the common denominator is like you have a positive mindset now and you're working to be successful, you know? So
the thing, like with our podcast here, like we don't want to do that. The big names. We want to do people like normal people. Like, right? We want people to come here and show the people, because they don't have to be like, oh my God, that's this Hollywood star. That's this.
But the same concept of you're here to to make everyone's minds realize that we're all just people. And we all go through crap. You know, but it's how you deal with it.
But look at you. You know what I mean? Like, people are gonna be watching, and some people are gonna look you up, and she's gonna give her all her platforms handles and things, but they're gonna look you up, and they'll be like, but they're just gonna see another person who lives in the area, right, in Tampa Bay area, and to me that's so important, because we tend to seek information from outside people.
Right.
In this regard, and then it's so hard for us to embrace what other people within our community are trying to share with us. And I'm like, listen, there's a lot of information in the Tampa Bay area, in Florida and in other states as well. And but here in this area, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of people that went through a lot of things. A lot of people maybe never experienced like having to move to another state. There's people who have probably been here in Florida their whole lives, and they don't know what it is to move to another state. And going into the unknown and not knowing people, leaving your family behind, your friends behind, what you're comfortable with, and trying to seek a different present or future. And that's why I listen to those things. I like listening because I just like listening to positive things. I'm not here pretending my life is perfect and it's all positive all the time. No, sometimes I'm driving and I want to get out of the car and because people just sometimes can stress you out if you're not careful. But I try to stay as positive as I can. I mean, do I want to be up at 4:30 in the morning when my dogs are waking me up? No, but I do it.
Right.
I don't hesitate. I don't go into this conflict with myself like, oh no, I just do it, because if I start thinking about it, I'm not gonna do it.
Right.
So I just do it. And like you're doing, like you say, you know what, I want to do this, and obviously you want certain things in place so you can move forward with your new project. And that's that's super. And obviously you don't want things to be too perfect, because then you'll never do it. But like you were saying, like I think you're gonna have great content, or you're already having great content, and you're gonna do it even bigger and better, and especially for young women.
Right.
Like we have a daughter. My wife and I have a daughter. She's 16, and it's important for her to like hear people close to her age, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And that can give her information like that too, because they'll listen to us to a certain point, just like you have with your parents and I have with my parents. We listen to a certain point, and after that, like, we just don't want to take the information. So what I've learned is, like, sometimes when I tell my kids certain things, I know they're not really paying attention to me for certain things. So what I do, I bring them to other friends that kind of like in the same frequency, and they have kids as well, and those friends tell them the same thing that I told them. But they listen to my friends. And that's okay, because it takes a village.
Right.
You can't do it on your own. It takes a village. So and I think that's so important. When do you have an estimated time frame for like when you're gonna start with the new content and stuff like that, or?
So I'm implementing all of it. It's just it's a lot to balance, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. A lot of people, like, they just focus on one platform and they go all in with that. I've always just naturally, like, YouTube was very natural for me. TikTok was very natural for me. I think video is a lot better for me to make content with. It's a lot easier for me. Instagram took the longest for me to get the following that I do have now. But I show different sides of me on each platform. So for me to curate that content for each platform every day takes a lot of strategy, right? So I had to balance, I had to learn how to balance, okay, today I am filming this YouTube video, but how can I get my TikTok content and my Instagram content at the same time and just like knock out all at the same time, right? So for me, having to create, like, I want a clothing brand, I want my own app, I want this, I want that, but I want it to be of quality, but I also want it to make sense. So fitness is a huge part of my life. Always has been. My mom was a personal trainer up until last year. My entire life a personal trainer. My dad did bodybuilding. It's just always been, I was always at the gym, right? So no one looking at me, no one knows that, and I never really made content like that. So if I'm gonna pull up with a booty program or a workout app, that doesn't make sense. I need to curate the content of like that world before that, because if I launch that, I don't have the audience that is willing to be interested in that. They're interested in the clothes, they're interested in all the other things, right? So I'm building that right now, and I know that I do have people already that are interested in that stuff, right? So the more I curate that, the more that people are understanding it and are with it, then it'll make sense to drop my clothing brand for fitness, you know, to drop the booty programs and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, she knows what she's talking about, she knows what she's doing, but I'm okay with having to not necessarily prove myself in that way, but to show people that I am involved in that stuff. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to give myself 6 months and in 6 months time I'm going to launch it. I am not going to put a limit on anything that I'm capable of doing. Like, let's say I'm making that content every day. It's just me editing and posting everything, but I do have a lot of it already curated. It's, let's say I blow up tomorrow with it. In 2 weeks' time, I'm going with it, it's flowing, and then a month from now, I have it all set up, and I can launch it, you know? It's however fast that it can be attained for me. Gotcha. I'm not putting limits on it, but I am this year. Like, this year, these are the goals that I want to accomplish, and if I knock them all out in 7 months, then I'll regroup, I'll go on my drawing board and apply my new goals, right? Yeah. So, I'm not putting a limitation on the time frame, but these are the things that I want to accomplish this year.
What is your daily routine? Like, I mean, everyone has a daily
it's
a different
extremely
routine.
Important. Your morning routine is the most important thing.
Do you wake up early?
So I the idea in my head is I want to be up at 6 a.m. every day, but I have not implemented it yet.
Gotcha.
And the reasoning is because I'm in a flow state.
Yes.
So I am in a state of being where I am extremely calculated when it comes to what I need to get done in a week. So I have a planner, but I also have, I make a piece of paper. I have a piece of paper, but I make what I need to get done in that week. So I say, Monday, I am going to do all TikTok content at my house that are clothing hauls, right? So I will curate, if I'm going to do a review video, like this outfit is Fashion Nova, I did a whole clothing haul on YouTube about it. But in between that, I did TikToks and all the different outfits that I was doing as well. So I got all of that. That is my content for the week for TikTok because there was enough content there. I got like 10 videos down, right? So did all of that, but let's say also on Monday, I'm trying to go to the gym and film at the gym too, right? So I just put a bunch of crap there. On Tuesday, I want to film a daily vlog. I want to do a day in the life, or I want to do a morning routine or something like that, right? And then at night, I have like different things that I need to do for my management team, for my modeling, so that content that I have to hit for that, right? So I have that too. If I don't get everything done on Monday, the flow state that I am in is that I will bring it to Tuesday. If I don't get it done on Tuesday, it needs to be done by Friday. So I need it done by Friday, but my flow state is that in the creative mindset, being a content creator, you need to be at ease with all of the content you're making. You cannot be stressed when you're making it. So I give myself the week to get everything done, and I try to get as much done as possible each day. But if I don't hit it, I don't beat myself up anymore about it, because rest is as equally as important as, you know, grinding.
Yes.
So that's how I do it. But I do have a morning routine. I wake up I have a dog. It's 120 pounds. He's a lot. But it's important for me to be outside and get my exercise with him. So I wake up. I've learned that when I get ready for the day, and that doesn't mean putting makeup on and doing my hair, it just means like looking the best that I can look in that moment. Like, let's say I have my workout clothes and stuff on, but I'll do my ponytail, like I'll slick back my ponytail, or I'll do something that makes me feel more put together than just throwing my hair up in a bun and not caring, right? I'll wash my face, brush my eyelashes, feel put together. And then I bring my dog on an hour-long walk every day. There's a park near my house. So I'm there for exactly an hour, because the route that I do is an hour. So he is outside, he's tired when he's done, he's good for the day, honestly. Like, with that hour, he's good until dinner time with like his exercise for the day. That gets me out of the house, it gets me in the sun, it gets me outside, it gets me in nature. That's very important to be grounded. So I do that every single day, and it has changed my life immensely. I don't have an alarm for the time that I wake up. It's at 7, but I'm usually up before my alarm clock. But ideally, like, I would love to be a part of like the 5 a.m. crew, like that. That would be a goal. But right now, in my flow state, I work really well at night, For some reason, I think subconsciously, I know at nighttime I'm not like FOMO, I'm not missing out on things for some reason. So it's like pitch black, it's like 1 a.m. I'm in my computer editing. And that's a really good time for me to get my content done for some reason. So if I'm up, like last night I was up until 3 a.m. doing content, editing all the content that I made yesterday, because it's one thing to like film the content and then it's another to edit the content and then get it out. That's like a whole nother monster that you have to, tackle. So I've learned that, last night, for example, I went to a workshop and it was called Edit and Chill. It was at the studio, and the studio just put on, just come and you can edit here and we'll just hang out and edit whatever content, whatever type of creator you are, just edit it. And I spent the whole time networking. I didn't edit anything. And I wasn't mad at myself that I didn't edit anything because I was there to edit. Yeah. I was meeting people, like-minded people, doing the same thing that I'm doing. Like, I felt so good with that. So I didn't get any of my own work done then, but I made connections with people, right? So I was up until 3 a.m. last night editing, and I could have woke up at 5 a.m., but ideally my body needs more sleep than that. So I'm not going to set an alarm for 5 a.m. I'm going to let myself sleep because I'm not going to go to this podcast today tired, right? So I'm not setting alarms right now if I don't feel necessary, so that's part of the flow state that I'm doing, but I will do the walk every single morning. I'll make sure that's important, and it also gets me ready. Like, I'll either listen to a podcast while I'm walking, I'll listen to something informational on YouTube, something like that, or I just listen to nature and I'm present with my dog. Yes. I'll come home, then I knock out everything on my to-do list that I have to do that day, but I take breaks because being in your house and making content, you got like, you're gonna go crazy at some point. Yes. So I gotta, like, if I have errands that I need to run, I'll wait until I feel agitated or like I need to get up and do something and change my environment. Then I'm like, okay, if I need to go to the bank or I need to go to the grocery store, I do it in that time, which is weird, but that's what I do. I'll come home and I have a really healthy relationship with food right now. I never used to be a cook, but right now it's like I feel good with cooking. So like I'm getting my stuff at like fresh markets and stuff like that, and it feels really good. And that's why Alzheimer's is in my family. And one thing that holistic doctors say is that going vegan, being on a vegan diet, helps with Alzheimer's. Yeah. So my family has taken that up. So basically everyone in my family right now choose vegan options, and they cook mostly vegan or vegetarian in the house, and then when we go out and stuff like that, we will eat other food. But that's my main reason for wanting to do that. I read something not very long ago where they were talking like diet has a big impact on those things. Yeah. It does. It's Alzheimer's specifically. It's like calcium buildup. Like a lot of animal products have a lot of calcium in it, and the calcium buildup is what blocks. The cord where a memory is created. The calcium can be built up so that the cord cannot be put into a file, and that's your memory. Yeah. So that's like one of the biggest things for that. Yeah. I mean, I forget people just naturally. Like if you're negative, I just forget you right away. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And so you have like, let's say Monday you're talking about you create content, but you're on different platforms, so you got like different days for like different things. Platforms. Yeah, but also like I had to come up with what I want each platform to be. What do I want to provide on each platform? So before it was like YouTube was just clothing haul review videos, and now it's I want it to be me talking and story times and really like valuable information. Yes. I still want to incorporate the clothing hauls because that is something that's dear to me. I love dressing nice. I've always been into clothes and stuff like that. And I do want a clothing line, so that's something that is dear to my heart. So
you should buy an extra one. That would have worked.
Yeah. Matching outfits. But so I've come to the conclusion that YouTube is going to be my talking platform. It's going to be the platform where I'm the most vulnerable self that I am. Yes. And I actually like some of my videos and stuff, I don't even publicize on my other platforms that I just posted a video, because I really want my YouTube community, which they know me most. They know me the best out of any other platform that I'm on, because I am the most vulnerable on it, And I think when I first started YouTube, it was super easy for me to start because I didn't know anyone in Florida. I was like, F it, I don't see anyone from my hometown. I don't care if they watch my videos. It was an opinion, But then, you know, working nightlife, being in this area, I know everyone now.
Yeah.
So when I started making my videos again, I subconsciously was thinking about people watching it and judging me, and I was like, who am I? Like, make it. Who cares? You know. So I'm back in that mind state now, set of mind now. But before, for some reason, I caught myself overthinking it, and I was like, this is weird.
But I think that happens a lot, especially when you come from a decent family, you know, with values and stuff like that. You always kind of like thinking what other people are thinking or saying, or they might be talking about whatever.
Though, but
no. But I'm saying like a lot of times it happens, but you know, it's up to you to just like say, you know what, screw that, and like let me go forward. Like they can say whatever they want. I live in that space anyhow. Like myself as a coach, people always gonna say things, you know, and I don't care. Like, you know, I'm still doing my thing. I'm doing what I want to do, and who's criticizing or who's saying something? The person doing better, or the person doing worse. You know, like. And usually the person doing not so well. So, you know, that's their problem. Like I'm happy, you know, happy wife, happy kids. We got a great home. You know, a lot of people have houses. We got a home. Yeah. You know, people spend a lot of money in weddings. We have a marriage. Right. You know, it's like very different things. Absolutely right. And you know, I have peace of mind. Like I want to be home. Like I go to the gym or I go out of town for fights, and I want to come back home. Right. Like, you know, like I don't want to be away from my home. Like I'm happy here with my family. Yeah. You know, and I'm not saying that we all perfect, but we're at peace here. Like people like coming over here. Yeah. And we embrace everyone. You know, we respect other people, but we dislike negativity. Right. And unfortunately, a lot of times you can't control those things because they're going to come to you. Whether it's relatives or not, but you just got to know how to handle it, you know, and just don't get involved in that, because then you absorb negativity, trying to be a nice person, and that's not the way it should be. Yeah. Another thing I do want to say though with my morning routine is affirmations. I think those are extremely important. So I have affirmations on my mirror, and I have affirmations kind of like randomly throughout my house. I'm really into crystals and all that stuff as well, like super into crystals and girl, you see, I love it. Yeah, I mean, you know, this crystal, these are crystals. It's called Paradise. I like it, and I'm not hurting anyone. Yeah. So you know, if that, like I tell people, if a broomstick makes you happy, you know, and you believe in a broomstick and you think that that's going to motivate you and inspire you, then believe in it. You know, it's funny that you say, because I literally have a broomstick in my house. It's made out of cinnamon sticks. Oh, is it? Yeah, cinnamon. I think we have one in the corner somewhere. Like okay. Yeah, they sell them at Publix, but cinnamon is really good for abundance and attracting abundance. So a broomstick made out of cinnamon, I have it next to my front door. Yeah. So it's like only attracting abundance. Listen, if you tell me that frog is good for fortune and stuff like that, I'll try it. I don't care. It's all about intent. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. If there's intent behind it and you believe it's serving this purpose, your subconscious again doesn't know any different, and you are going to feel a difference because you're telling your subconscious like this is different, so you're gonna feel different. You're gonna, you know. So I'm really into all that stuff, but I think affirmations, like telling yourself, that's how I think that's the fastest way to get out of limiting beliefs, is saying affirmations every single day. So that's awesome. I mean, that's incredible. You get a great story, and I think you're gonna do really well, like and inspire and motivate a lot of people, and empower people and encourage people. You know, especially women. Yeah. You know, I think that's very important. I think like women especially for sure, but men and women. I want to I want to motivate all. So I'm really happy, and I'm just getting started, so I'm really excited. You just keep going, girl. Then just don't wait too long, because you know we're looking forward to view your content and things like that. You know, like I told you, my wife, she was so fond of you, and she's fond of you, and you know, she was like, oh, you gotta have her in the show, you know. That's like so sweet. And I was like, okay. So she gave me a pretty good download on certain things that you do and things like that, and I was like, oh, you know, that's really interesting. I was telling him, I was telling Brandon, and I was like, dude, I think there's gonna be some good stuff in this conversation, you know, like, and I appreciate that because like I said, you're giving a lot of good information to people out there, to other women and to other men, and to understand that, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of fear. You're going to be a little bit nervous, but if you plan accordingly, it's probably going to be better because you build up to that,
right?
And eventually it's easier to.
You have to know why you're doing it,
yes,
because that's what's going to get you to continue doing it every single day.
Yeah.
It's why are you doing this?
But some people sometimes they kind of like know why they're doing it, but they get scared,
right?
Because they think like they start thinking about all this, what if I run out of money? What if this? What if that? And then they don't do it.
And that was my biggest thing, was like that's what I did not leave nightlife for so long, was because I was like, I'm comfortable in this. It's I know I'm getting paid. I know I'm making money. And then I just told myself, which is extremely risky, but I was making enough with my social media by itself to cover my living expenses and my lifestyle. So that's why I was comfortable leaving.
Yes.
But before that, I was like, I'm not leaving this. I don't. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna rely on my own self to make my income. Like that's not stable. That's not secure. But I just told myself, like, I'm making this, but it's not guaranteed every month because it depends on how much work I do. Depends on how much I'm getting paid every month. So for me to leave that was like the scariest thing, because I think financial security is like a big pillar in my life that like I need to feel stable. So but forcing myself to quit and forcing myself to leave forced myself to take this serious,
right.
And you have to put yourself in that uncomfortable scenario.
That's what's going to push you forward. It's going to propel you. So, but like you said, you got to put yourself in that situation, because if you don't, then you're always going to play it safe.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you turn around, it's like 30 years later.
Right.
And I tell you what, I don't want to have a boss. Like the only boss I want to have is probably my wife.
Yeah.
And like I don't want people telling me what to do and stuff like that. Like that. If I do something wrong, it's on me. I'll be upset at myself. And I'll fix it. But I don't want to put up with anybody's like mood or how they feel today or what they're thinking. Like I just want to do my own thing. And that's why I'm like just trying to do everything that I can right now to continue that and just and this podcast, to be honest with you, is like allowing me to bring out a lot of things that I have inside. It's crazy. Like
it's like it's honestly your inner child is like just happy,
like little things here and there that actually I'm going back and remembering and I start sharing with other people and when I'm learning too. I think like whatever episode that we've done, like there's always like great messages, from all the different guests,
right?
And for myself, and I know for Brandon as well. But I'm pretty sure the people that watch it, like they're picking something up.
Yeah.
Some really good content, and I know this one's gonna be pretty good too. Yeah. But before you go, tell people your platform so they can go and check it out.
Delia Sylvain on every single platform. So there's no numbers, no anything, just Delia Sylvain. And that's my YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And I have Delia Sylvain Fitness is a new Instagram that I just made for all my fitness content. So
that's awesome. Guys, gotta check it out.
Subscribe and like our page will put you in the game. The Beanbags Talk.